Anyway, we move over to the second topic, but we'll stay a bit at this restaurant comparison that we just had, because in order to get the attention of potential guests, restaurants need to offer them a tasty looking or sounding menu, right? And in our case, as 3D artists, the equivalent to this is having a portfolio with some great looking images in it. And now the question is, does producing good, impactful images automatically equal tons of effort and days of work? And actually, it doesn't. And the following two projects that I also want to show you from the group are a very good evidence of this. So I'll share my screen again and we'll move over to these two projects. First one is this project by Claudio, a bathroom. He decided to play around with Vantage, as he says. He set up a very simple looking bathroom, took two wonderful shots out of it, and as you see, it was more than enough to capture my attention and that we get to talk about this during the live show. So that it seems like it works. The second example I want to show you is the headphone project by Juan Gabriel, who decided to exercise his texture work, found a great free model on TurboSquid, this one, and then fully retextured it from scratch as far as I can tell, and added some more details, some storytelling. You see some weathering, gave it a bit of a used look with scratches here and there. And while doing so, of course, trained his skills, and then created a very nice product visualization session that you currently see previewed, right? And this will definitely give him a great addition to his portfolio. And once again, we're talking about it here in the live show. And I gotta tell you that these two works that you just saw inspired me to show you how an impactful portfolio project can be created pretty much out of nothing or without so much effort. So let's first specify what this out of nothing actually means. Sometimes we want to diversify our portfolios, which is great and very important, especially for freelancers or CGI generalists, because it gives us more flexibility. Just imagine it like this. I'm speaking from experience here. If, let's say, you do amazing interiors and a potential client, needs an exterior and they see your portfolio and they go like, this artist makes great interiors, but I need an exterior. I'll go look for somebody else. If you make wonderful ArcVis images, bird views, interiors, exteriors, whatnot, and somebody needs an automotive rendering or product shots, and they see your portfolio, they'll be like, looks good. When I need ArcVis, I'll definitely get back to this artist. But right now, I need product visualization. I'll go look for somebody else. This is why, especially once again, if you're self-employed, want to be a CGI generalist, it's great to have a portfolio which is a bit more diverse, which includes more than just one type of visualization, being it interior, exterior, whatnot. And in these cases, it's great to do something like what Juan Gabriel did here and just start creating something like a product visualization. But oftentimes, we don't know where to start. Like Juan Gabriel here, he found his headphones and decided, okay, this is what I'll do. But if you don't find something like this, how do you know where to start? And let me tell you, this is where keeping your eyes and your senses open comes in handy, because this can easily provide you with a very, very good starting point. And now let's get more specific, because from so far it may be a bit confusing for you to follow. We'll start in the beginning with the starting point. So, as I decided to make you a part of my process in a situation like this, where I just want to come up with a nice looking project to enhance my portfolio, I obviously also needed a starting point. And now, a few weeks prior, I opened my laptop in the evening to play a game, and I was greeted with a Windows login image which looked something like, okay, I didn't have it open. Wait a second. I should have been better prepared here, but I will open it in a second, which looked something like this. Okay. It wasn't like this, it was more like this. Okay? And let me tell you, once again, I was off to play a game, not to think about 3D, but seeing this, I was like, whoa, that's amazing. This looks like a stage with a beautiful, unique set decor around it. Actually, all you need is to place a project somewhere here in the middle, and you already have a wonderful project visualization setting. And if you do a render session here, it will immediately be amazing just because of this structure that you have around your project. It mustn't be about the project itself, you know. But once again, I didn't need it in the moment. I wanted to play a game. So I just made sure to remember it. And now that I needed something interesting, back at, last week, I needed something interesting as a setting for those impactful images that I plan to create with you. I simply remembered the canyon image and decided that this is going to be my starting point. And this is my first major tip that I want to share here with you today, is to train your senses and be impressionable, okay? Because throughout your day, you don't need to really travel around the world and make huge investments and stuff in order to get impressions. You may watch a movie, you may, just go pick up your kid from school and see a sunset, or you see a park with a nice color, parked in front of a building with a nice color, and both together looking amazing. Sometimes we just encounter situations. In my case, it was just opening my stupid laptop and seeing the login, the Windows 11 login screen. That was a situation like this. What I did, and what I also advise you to do, is to make sure to remember this, to put them in your mental and emotional archive, and remember this so that when you need them later for your work or for a free time exercise, that you know you can get back to them. Of course, it helps when you take a photo of something like this, make a screenshot. I have a folder with references like this. Maybe take some notes or something about your thoughts, but train your senses to see things and then try to remember those things. But okay, we now have a starting point. Now let's see how I can implement this. Okay, I have the idea for the setting, but it's time for me to implement it. So obviously, my first thought, I think you immediately agree, was the Quixel library, right? Because the Quixel library has those great photorealistic scans, and I remember seeing cliffs like these in the nature section. So immediately I went to the Quixel library, I downloaded some, and I started putting them together. And this is the very, very first phase. Simon says, I'm always amazed by how some old painters are still such inspiration for artists, and this process always gives great results. Yeah, absolutely agree. You should, I think this is what I recommend. Just be impressionable. You can see the old painters, you can see something from nowadays, you can see a movie, you can see inspiration everywhere. And you don't need to become a full-time geek and search it the whole time. There are some people out there who, they let's say visit a new city with their family, and instead of spending quality time with their family, with their kids, with their significant other, they start taking 1 billion photos and taking notes and just becoming, very, very annoying from my point of view. Just try to do it on the side. You just take a look at something and think, oh, this is nice. Just try to remember it. Take a photo, write a short note, and then live your life, okay? So yeah, back to putting together those cliffs. Let's call them like this. And this is now you'll see a few shots from the beginning of the process. And please, folks, remember that what I'm showing you here now is something which is meant to be unfiltered. I could have, of course, shown you the final images and just have said, well, look at what I did, but these wouldn't have had any real learning value to you. And as a mentor, I want to give you here what you cannot get elsewhere, at least not without paying a lot of money. What I want to give you here is to show you the unfiltered process, the way it is, going back and forth, trying things, failing, and stuff like this. So be prepared for things like that. So yeah, this is how I started off. I put those cliffs together, made a sandy ground, then added a bit of volumetrics, added water, later added some sunlight as well. And of course, once you have a setting, I added also a this chair that you see, that let's say my project. We remember how in the beginning I said you have this beautiful setting, you only need a project to put so that you can make a beautiful project session. So yeah, this was quick. I tried taking some eventually somehow interesting photos, but let me tell you right away, we're keeping it real here. I wasn't convinced. Why? Because the Quixel cliffs, they're good, but they're good for the creation of huge landscapes that you see from afar, but not for such a almost close-up type of session, right? And this here comes the second major tip I want to give you. Failure is part of the process. Learn to accept it. So I did something. Yeah, it didn't cost me a lot of time, but I did something and it wasn't going in the direction I wanted it to. And this is something which happens. It happens even to the best artists out there. Don't expect that everything you set as a goal you immediately achieve and otherwise you suck. No, you don't. It's a part of the process. That's why it's called a creative process, right? And especially if you're creating something like this, that you don't have a clear goal, but you want to start somewhere and see where it leads you, it's very, very common that sometimes you go in some directions which are not the directions that you actually wanted to go to. So what we have here, I'm not satisfied with. This is what I'm trying to say the whole time. And I accepted my failure and decided, nope, this is simply not it. I want something else. So what now? For my idea to work out, I need the right setting. And unfortunately, Quixel seems to not be it. So what are my options now? I can model and texture those things on my own, like try to create this on my own, or I can search for a ready-made model. Okay, let's go here. Yeah, here is my reference once again. So either create it on my own, or option B, try the ready-made model. Obviously, let's try out option B and see what it gives me. And after a short search, I found a model consisting of 7 canyon elements. Take a look at this. Thanks to the awesome artist named Buzarov, I found this model online. And if you take a look in comparison to the original Antelope Canyon, this is way closer to what I actually need. And let's take a look at the price tag. $6. Okay, hell yeah, of course I'll buy this one. Why? Because time is valuable. This is the third major tip. Your time is valuable. If I had to create this structure on my own, this would mean that I have to read into it, try to understand the concept behind how these were, made by nature, with over ears from a river and so on. I would have to experiment a lot with modeling, with texture mapping, with texture creation, because I obviously won't be able to download a texture like this ready-made. And while all of this that I just mentioned isn't anything bad, if I had the time for this and if I wanted to do something like this, like the full program, I would have done it. But in this particular case, I wanted to do something quickly, because this is what I want to show you, how to come up with something new and interesting and impactful, but quickly, not while spending like weeks on it, right? And $6. How about $6? Is it much? Of course not. I bought the model because fourth major tip, invest. You need to invest. You cannot expect payoff without investing first. Imagine you want a tasty, nice cake, but you're not eager to invest money to buy flour or eggs or chocolate or something like this. You won't get the cake, right? You need to invest in order to get something out of this. And $6 isn't that much if you try to see it as a marketing budget, because what I want to create is something that looks nice, which is kind of flashy, which is kind of impactful, with something that when I share it on social media will give me attention and exposure, meaning that this is a type of a marketing move on my side. And spending $6 on a marketing budget is absolutely nothing. Louis says, what site did you look for the model? I looked with Google and I found the site, but if you want to, I can later share the link with you. I still have it open somewhere, I think. Anyway, So yeah, I invested the $6. What's more, currently the USA is a mess, so the dollar is quite cheap compared to the euro. So for me, it was like €5, and this is less than a kebab, like street food. So yeah, it was definitely worth it. Okay, so what we have now is a new begin. So let's see how I started creating the new setting. Okay, here it is. And if we go back, this looks way closer to what I'm actually after, right? What's missing here is this very nicely saturated color. And where does it come from? It's not post-production. It's actually the sun. If you do some reading, because I really like to analyze and do reading on things that I, work on. And yeah, if you do some reading, you know that it comes actually from the sun. So I added the sun, and take a look at this. Now, if we compare this and this, you see that we're getting very, very close to the reference, right? And now that we have this stage, let's take a look at what I said in the beginning, because now I have my own stage and set decor. What do I mean by this? So here we have the stage, we have the spotlight for the project, and we have the set decor. Stage, spotlight, set decor. You see the resemblance? It's definitely there, right? So what's the next step? We need something to happen on the stage, right? Just staring at an empty stage isn't really that interesting. So we need our project. We need a project. We need a hero, something happening. So I opened the Cosmos library and decided to pick something out of it, because I already invested money. Why should I invest more money? So I picked this bathtub. Why a bathtub? Well, obviously because of the association contrast. Now, what we have here as a setting is this, which is very, very dry, and a bathtub is something we associate with water, which is very, very wet. On the other hand, or at the same time, you know that this whole natural phenomenon is created by water. So I think getting water in some form into this is actually a pretty nice reverence to nature. Okay, so let's pick up this bathtub and just place it in this setting that we have just built and see what we get. There it goes. Wonderful, unique project visualization. Take a look at this image. I mean, I don't want to be immodest here or something, but this is very, very good. If you imagine that you share let's say a project visualization session like this will definitely land. This will definitely stick out, and people will definitely remember this one. I tried different angles. You see, the asset that I downloaded isn't really like suitable for this for close-ups, because it doesn't even have the hole here. The shower head doesn't have any hose. But in the end of the day, this doesn't really matter, because I can always replace it with something else. What matters is that I have this thing here, and it's already very, very interesting because of the setting. So I was right with my initial thoughts on that evening when I wanted to play a game and my mind was elsewhere. Just a short glimpse of this setting, I was right that it would be an amazing setting for product visualization. Okay, but of course, and once again, it doesn't have to be a bathtub. You can take a run. I took afterwards like a couch and a lamp, and just take a look at this. This looks already so much cooler, so different than what we are used to see. Amit says, excellent and brilliantly executed. Mikael says, nice one. Louis, lighting AI's weakest point, scale of photometry. Yeah, that's the thing. We now have our setting, and we can do so much with it, right? So, and you see, it works. So we had the bathtub. Now we have a couch. I even put in a goddamn coat rack or clothes hanger, whatever this is called, and it still looks very, very nice, because we have this spotlight setting. We have something like a theater stage, and it is already cool on its own. So everything we add to this only makes it cooler. You can even have a vehicle like there, and then try to take a close-up. And this is a time where we should maybe mention the technical aspects of everything I'm doing here, because these have been quite many images so far. It says put a table with some dates and wine bottle. It's a desert scene. Of course, you can do anything. Louis says chromatic contrast and done and chill. Yeah. So yeah, let's take a look at the technical aspects of what I'm doing so far. So in order to create as many images without wasting time, I am using Vantage, or more specifically, Corona to Vantage Live Link. And while this is great and I love it, this is, let's say, the option with the most limitations. If I would be using V-Ray with Vantage, then I would have less limitations when it comes to supported materials. And also, what you're seeing here aren't even renders. These are the viewport snapshots from Vantage, okay? But let me tell you, this is absolutely fine with me because I don't want to waste time rendering because I'm currently exploring, right? And also, talking about quality, please take a look at this image and tell me that this is not a great looking image. Take a look at how clean and noise-free it is. Take a look at the reflections, the blurriness, the depth of field. This is a very, very good quality, right? My mom is here. Hi, she says, so cool. Glad you like it. Evermotion should contract you for their model shots that they give in their PDF previews. Oh, they shouldn't. I wanted to do something which I felt like, but of course they can contact me if they want. Louis says you're a scholar and a gentleman. Tell well played, maestro. Thank you very much for your kind words. Okay, we clarified the technical aspects because we are absolutely not done, folks. We still have like way more to come here because once I start, I'm very much into it. The interesting part is I didn't sit down and do this for hours. I was doing it on the side. I was helping my daughter set up, the final touches of her new bedroom and doing chores around the house, garden, yard work, and so on. And I would come from time to time to this and think, well, you know what? What's cool? Let's try this out. So, Vantage depth of field? Yeah, of course, Vantage depth of field. This is it. I can show it to you by the end when I'm finished with all the images that I want to show you. I can show you the Vantage presentation. Oh, my dad is also here. This is so great. My whole family is here. I think I saw Helen somewhere as well. This is called support. Thank you very much. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so we currently have a vehicle here, with this motorbike, but this type of vehicle doesn't really fit that much into a canyon cave like this, right? How about trying it out with a vehicle that does fit? Here we go. Now, I want you to please see how harmonious the silhouette of this buggy fits within here. Take a look at this. You see how it follows the silhouette of the buggy? And take a look at this here. And you see how it also follows the silhouette of the buggy. It's like brackets that are holding our new main hero, right? So let's check the status quo now that we have the buggy inside. We have a great backdrop and scenery, and we have a fitting hero, a hero that makes sense to be there, okay? So now, for me, it was time to start exploring, meaning looking for exciting angles, and the following images that you see, because I did them with Vantage, have been produced in just a few minutes. But once again, they're totally unfiltered. So if there are some repetitions or something like this, don't be bothered. But let's take a look at them. There are like many of them coming. Oh, by the way, I tried bringing back the water because once again, it gives this nice color bleeding of the green on top of those cliffs, on the color of those cliffs, and also gives me some wonderful reflections down here, right? Okay, then I tried getting closer, showing the backside of the buggy. Take a look at the framing of this one. It's so good. Sorry for not being modest here, but we're keeping it real and it's good. So take a look at this. It fits perfectly within those cliffs, and also all together with the lighting, it makes for this very, very beautiful looking tonal contrasts, and the buggy really visually sticks out. It's great. I'm having fun. You can tell, I hope. Take a look at this one, or this one. This right here is an amazing advertisement shot for, let's say, a company that sells ATVs, dirt bikes, quads, and all of those. This, just imagine the logo of the company somewhere in the top left corner, and then you have this, which looks very aggressive, very dynamic, and this awesome backdrop, and you have something so cool here. Then, obviously, I saw that this one is already aggressive, so I wanted to see if I can get it to be even more aggressive. Luis says, I feel like we're part of Theo's family now. Yes, you definitely are. The whole Chaos Campus community is, in the meantime, really a part of my family, believe it or not. Anyway, let's continue with the aggressive shots. This one is aggressive. This one is even more aggressive. Just take a look at this. I'm having fun. I want to try out things. It doesn't matter if they will end up in the final selection or not. I want to try out, right? Then we're back at the beginning. Let's take a look at this. This one, I'm getting more further. And then I had this one where I decided that it's cool that the buggy is blurry and the focus is on the foreground. But obviously, when you have the focus on the foreground, we're missing something here. Simon says, well done with your parenting. Theo is an amazing. Yes, come on, folks. This is getting too much. I'm going to, you're making me ashamed here, please. You're very kind, but let's focus on the images here. So I think you see what I see here, right? When we focus on the foreground, it's nice. We have some really nice texture on the ground, but it's not enough, right? I'm happy that to see the whole buggy. It's very nicely visible as a form. It's blurry, but I want to see something in the front. So what I thought it would be really, really nice if I put something which belongs in this canyon or cave, something like a scorpion. But do I really need to buy a scorpion model? Would I really invest in this? Nah, because I won't be able to use it in future, so I don't know why would I need a scorpion. So I decided, you know what? I pay for Photoshop. Photoshop has generative fill. So let's use that. I took the image over to Photoshop quickly and added a scorpion. This is like the 10th rendition because generative fill wasn't really good with scorpions, but this one was actually pretty nice. What I also pay for is Magnific. Let's enhance the foreground and the scorpion a bit. Looks better. And what do I also have is Photoshop, as you know. So I brought the Magnific image back to Photoshop, layered it over the original rendering because there were some artifacts. And here we go. Now we have an image with a scorpion. And you may say, why? Why do you need a scorpion? Because I can. This is an answer that I get from my daughter in recent times. She's 10. And I sometimes really think, well, that's a good enough reason. I can do this. I think, imagine once again, people who are into buggies and stuff like this, they're into adrenaline. They, like these very manly energy, power names. And you can easily imagine a buggy like this being called something like Scorpion Power, whatnot, right? So, yeah, here we have an image with a scorpion. Do I need it? No. Do I like it? Absolutely. Okay, let's continue furtherly testing angles and framings. This one, take a look at this one. I was searching, you see, I went through probably 14 angles so far, and suddenly the 60th angle is one that really captures my attention, and I think this is awesome. The framing is great, the composition is wonderful, it's dope, I love it. Let's see if I can focus more on the front. Oh yeah, let's do a version with water because of course, and then let's focus more on the front. Once again, thematizing the framing and the surrounding. Great, looks amazing. Okay, once again, this is a great shot for people who are into these types of vehicles because they see, the powerful front of this. And once again, it is beautifully framed, and the form of these cliffs are actually, once again, very nicely following the form of the vehicle. These are things that we should actually pay attention to. Now, okay, let me check the comments. Theo, and I will ask, this is Louis, what about Envision and its ray tracing engine, Lavina Root? Yeah, I mean, Envision, Envision is like more for the people who use Enscape because they don't have to go to Vantage through 3ds Max and whatnot. They can just straightly go from, let's say, Enscape to Envision. I haven't tried it. I've seen Mike tried it out. I also have downloaded the beta, and I have a very large project that I've shown on one of the previous shows, because Envision has this awesome anima integration, and this is something that I want to try out on a large scale project. So yeah, I would definitely try Envision at some point, but with a large scale project where I really have this urban situation with cars and people, because I really want to test it in combination with anima. But for something like this, I have Vantage, and I love Vantage. Okay. I see very many compliments towards my mom and dad. Rightfully so, they are awesome people, and I love them very, very much. Amit says, now you have extended family too, Mr. and Miss Nomu. You have lots of kids now to take care of. This is really nice with you guys. Okay, so we're here now. Let's see what happens, because so far we had the natural illumination only focus on the front of this vehicle. What happens if we have the backside of the buggy being lit up properly? And it looks very, very nice. And if we go back to the shot, the Scorpion shot, in the initial shot, this was this one, the buggy is very, very dark, which, now in retrospect, I don't like as much as I like it here. So let's fuse the new version, the new lighting, with the old Photoshop file, and here we go. Now we have an even better Scorpion shot. Do I need it? Still not. Do I love it? Absolutely. Okay, now it's time. I've had enough of testing angles. Now it's time for me to start fooling around with the lighting, and the thing that I really would like to test here is some neon lights. So let's see how it turns out, and bam, here you go. But you see something is missing, right? Something is missing. What's missing? The buggy's rear and headlights aren't turned on, but they should be with a setting like this. So let's turn them on and add some more neon lights. Better this way, right? We have more neon, we have the buggy's rear and headlights turned on. And now let's check out this new lighting setup with the old angles. Damn, take a look at this. Take a look at this. This is really, really cool. Right? But wait a second. As I told you, this is really, really unfiltered. Take a look at this one with all the reflections and the water and everything. This is just so cool. I love watching this one. But yeah, what did I just do? I turned on the headlights and the rear lights of the buggy. Okay. I really need to go back to the daylight shots and see how they look like with the headlights turned on. Because if we go back here, you see that the headlights are not turned on. This is a miss on my side. So I gotta go back and see if it is better with the lights turned on. Yeah, definitely. Just take a look at this. Looks way better, right? Yeah, with the backlights, we have some red, which very harmoniously goes with all the surroundings. It's dope. It's really, really good. Okay, now it's time for us to go back to the neon lighting. And as Luis calls it, chromatic contrast. Yeah, it's exactly what it is. Now, it's cool, but what bothers me here are those visible neon sticks. I don't like them that much. So it's time for me to try out a different lighting setup. And let me show you. I have the max file here. So what I did instead, in order to get rid of those neon sticks, was, I'll make this large, it was one huge rectangular light with blue color to it, and then these 5 red lights arranged in the same amount of distance between them, being red. And there is also one light above the car, which is a warm light. Okay, simple as that. Now let's see how this looks like. Oh, this is nice. Now we don't have those annoying neon tubes, and we can focus on a very, very cool looking lighting setup. Mikkel says, would be cool if we ask Klink AI to make the buggy transform into a robot. Wicked. Oh yeah, this would be cool, like Transformers. Yeah. Anyway, so we're back into the neon, but we changed the lighting setup. So now let's see what we have with the neon 2. And then we start experimenting, right? And it looks really, really nice. I absolutely love how these gradients are happening back here, from the blue the red, the purple in between. It's really, really cool. Okay, let me see. Okay, you see we're here at Neon 2. It looks amazing. However, I'm missing a bit something. What I'm missing is that the car, the surrounding now is perfect. What I'm missing is that the car isn't as illuminated as I wish it would be. It doesn't stick out enough. Okay, so let's try a different concept. Okay, and we are about flexibility here. This is the fifth major tip that I want to share with you. Don't get stuck on something just because you did it. So I did the neon tube lighting, right? And I already liked it, but there was some issues with it. So I needed to be critical with myself and try to change the lighting a bit. And now, also, I really like the new lighting, but I'm still missing something. So I once again need to get a step back and see what I can do. So let's try out direct illumination with a new lighting scenario to address the underexposure that I felt the car was having or the buggy was having. So let's try to simulate some flashlight shots. Danushka says, oh my god, dude, you're just making me go crazy with ideas, Luis. Well, Theo just made me love my Vantage, clearly underused on my part. What if we put some volumetrics in the atmosphere with a neon setup? Yeah, we can do this. We could try it out. But yeah, let's now focus on the flashlight shots. And they're awesome. I really, really, really like them, especially as a, horror movie fan. They're awesome. And also they produce some absolutely amazing tonal contrast. But maybe they are eventually a bit creepy. So how about we try to also, we don't know where the light source is coming from. So how about we try to use something more visible to the viewer, something like utility flashlights as a light source. So I found a free model online and on Sketchfab, thanks to Whitechapel 93 for this model. I downloaded it, retextured it, and then I tried to implement it in my scene. Let's see how it works. And now we have those utility flashlights placed on the floor and lighting up my buggy. And it works. The issue is, though, that the light sources are too low. So maybe I need an alternative. How about some spotlights instead? I know I have some in my library, right? Damn. Hell yeah. The buggy is now nicely illuminated as I wanted it to be, right? So you see from all angles, you can clearly see the form, you can clearly see the silhouette. Take a look at this. This is so good. Okay, so far so good. What about the canyon though? Now that we have the spotlights on the buggy, we don't see the canyon, and we kind of forget about it and kind of becomes secondary, which we don't want. So what we'll be doing next, we'll be bringing back the neon. And there we get it. Take a look at this. Now we have the neon surroundings and a car which is awesomely lit up. And now let's add some storytelling in order to make this be more like an actual setting. Let's simulate a photo session, which will make sense of those standing spotlights. And here we go. Now we have a photo session going on the Antelope Canyon of a buggy. Isn't that not cool? Take a look at this. And now I'm just, once again, just having fun. And take a look at all the shots. They're so lively, they're so colorful, but they're still very well lit. And the hero is very nicely visible. And then think about me eventually sharing these images. And once again, these are not even renders. These are snapshots from the Vantage viewport, right? Now, imagine me sharing this on social media, like this shot. Don't you think that people will kind of, see this and kind of value this, as Lewis puts it, chromatic contrast nirvana? And the best thing about it, because we're already here talking for a lot of time, but the best thing about it, the most fascinating part of all this is remember where we started? Remember this? Remember this? It was just an idea. It was just something in my imagination. And in the meantime, we have done so freaking much with this. We went through like the chromatic contrast nirvana. We have a photo session going on right here. We have creepy images with flashlights. We had daylight images. Take a look at those. We have so much done in a really short amount of time, and we have explored so much while doing this. And what I really want to show you, because I already said, keep your senses open, and about this photo session, what inspired me for this? Let's go back to our, where are we here? And let me show you something that I'm a part of some photography groups, and one of them is the beginners photography group. And let me show you what I saw there. It's a photo session with this model. She's called Olympia. And these are some nice images, but the very last image, you see that? It's a behind the scenes of a photo session, a photo by a photographer, right? And if we now go back here, this is more or less what we had. So I started with one inspiration, the Antelope Canyon, and I ended with another inspiration. And ended is a big word here, because I'm not yet done. Because if I want, let's say, to add the water to these shots, of course, it would be absolutely amazing how it will look like with caustics. But because I use Lifelink with Vantage from Corona, I currently don't get the caustics this way. So I don't need to export a VR scene, or I need to render this in Corona. But just imagine this. Imagine this surrounding with the caustics from this water. This will look so amazing. And I'm not finished yet. I'm not done yet. But what I wanted to show you is, take a look at what we did, the whole process, where it started and where it ended. And it, because of Vantage, and this is not an advertisement for Chaos or something. It's just that I absolutely, I'm a Corona fanboy, and I will, if you ask me, I will always use Corona for my final renders. But more and more, I think that Vantage is a great alternative, especially if you want to experiment with stuff, because the amount of time I would have invested to create all the images that you saw here in Corona would have been so much that I wouldn't have done it in the end. But with Vantage, I could just experiment one after the other. And I actually have it open here because I see you are very ecstatic about it. Simon says today's episode is a masterclass on how to approach an idea and execute it like a pro. Thank you very much. I can't iterate that quickly in Corona, even after 12 years of production with it. Its workflow, Vantage it is, especially for someone passionate about lighting design. Nikos would have been happy to see these images. I also think so. But yeah, let me show you Vantage. I had it open the whole time. Here we have the scene. And the best thing about it is, this is real time, right? Here we go. We have a clear image. I can change to every scene that we have here. In real time, and it immediately clears out, and we have the image. This might be the most actionable demo Chaos has never seen. Yeah, but at some point it dawned on me that it looks like I'm doing a Vantage demo, which definitely isn't my goal, believe me, because I'm just using the tools that are at my disposal. The same way I showed you how I use Generative Fill to add that scorpion. I just use what I have. My rig specs, you can read it here. I have a RTX 4090. So yeah, this of course explains something as well. But yeah, you can see Vantage is just so cool. And the best thing about it is that I can, okay, let's go to a camera which is at the front. This one, for example, and yeah. Amit, what did you say? Scattering some fog. Yeah. We can change the fog color. We have it now in blue. We can have it a bit more on the pinkish side. And of course, we can then play around with fog distance, with fog emission, because the emission is now, you see, we can make it really ugly. if we want to. But yeah, we can do quite a lot. We can have the fog start after or behind the car so that it doesn't interrupt our view of the car, so that we still have a very clear image. And I really really love Vantage for something like this. So yeah, I. But it's not about Vantage, It's about this unfiltered journey on how to start a project from out of nothing, out of just one idea or one. I imagine that it would be whatever, and then turn it into something that we now have been talking so much about. In the meantime, we discussed so many topics. We saw so many different variations of this topic, and we can do so much more with this as well. And I really hope that I could give you a bit of a glimpse of this creative exploration that sometimes I do. And I don't want to say that every time you sit down, you need to make like 1 million versions of something. Sometimes you sit down and you have a very clean idea of what you want to do, what your hero is, what your surrounding is, what your setting is, how the lighting should be, and you can just implement it. I have done something like this in the past where I just knew what I wanted to do. For example, with this autumnus project of mine, I just did it literally in a day. This is one of the quickest projects I've done. It was after a walk with my children. I just wanted to create something like this, so I just sat down. I had a reference and created this more or less immediately. I didn't have any versions whatsoever. Of course, I always do more than one image as respect to my own time and effort invested. But this was it. It could be both. But sometimes you sit down and hey, you know what? Something like this would be cool. I don't know exactly what. And in this particular case, using Vantage is absolutely my advantage, right? Because yeah, then I can do so much. And once again, I can do like I can, let's say, if I get different assets, it shouldn't be the boogie, but something else. I can tell a horror story within the limits of the setting that I have. Once again, like a theater stage. If you imagine a theater stage, it is not only one play that happens on this stage. There are different plays, but the stage stays the same, right? And this is what I wanted to create with this Antelope Canyon. I wanted to have my stage, and now that I have it, I can do with it whatever I please. I can change the colors, I can change the motive, I can change the everything. But it's about the process, what I wanted to show to you today. And I hope I managed to give you some inspiration and some motivation to just sometimes start, especially if you have a tool like Vantage on your side, or Escape, or even, I don't know, something else, D5, Lumion. Just do, don't fear failure. Don't You see, this is why I showed you all my failures. I don't like all the angles that I did, but some of them I really like, but I had to discover them first. And in order to discover them, I had to go through also some angles that weren't that great. And this is just the way it is. This is just a part of the process. Do you think that it is better to go V-Ray to Vantage or Corona to Vantage? I think that currently V-Ray to Vantage is the better choice because there are less limitations there, more materials from V-Ray are supported, like the UV randomization. But I also think that soon this will change for Corona with the newest version that I can imagine can come out quite soon. Okay. Let's thank you, Theo, for this excellent Keeping It Realistic show. It indeed was a realistic show with the live demo. Loved it. Thank you very much. I really hope that this was useful to you and it was fun to you to go through all of these images and with me, and to get some inspiration and to see that failure and trying out and not being sure what you even want to do in the end, and just this creative search. It's also part of the project, and it can really be a lot of fun as well. Okay, let me check. You have many comments. The 3S in project management: scope, schedule, and money. Yeah. This month, Chaos covered all three. Scope blew me away, and so did this. Yeah, this was really cool. Haha, in 13, I think, spill it, please. I'm not saying anything. You haven't heard anything from me, but I can imagine that quite soon we may be enjoying a new version. Anyway, folks, I think this should be enough for today. It wasn't as long as I expected it because, we also interact with each other. I thought it would be 2.5 or 3 hours or something like this because, yeah, I had two topics for you to talk about the AI and also about this. Maybe it was a bit too much, but for some reason I was inspired for both of these. So I decided to also talk with you about both of these. I hope it seems like you were still very active and very awake by the end and enjoyed it. So yeah, it was a pleasure. It was great. I don't think I answered all your questions or reacted to all of your comments, but yeah, I'll probably share some of the images as they are. I won't be doing any post production or final renders. I'll just share them for you to just keep in mind. Just a selection of some of the shots that I did throughout this session as a separate post, like the bathtub or the close up of this bike, and then some of the different versions of this buggy, just so that people can see that with one and the same setting, one can do so much. And by the way, as a recommendation from my side, because I'm a lazy artist, and if I spend many hours creating, let's say, an exterior or an interior or something like this, I like to use it to the max. So once I create, let's say, an interior, I put some objects inside and take product shots. And when I create exteriors, I sometimes make automotive shots and just try to make the most out of what I've already spent time and effort and energy on. And I can really recommend it to you, but maybe just because I'm a lazy artist, as I tell you. And oh, Mariana, nice to hear from you. I didn't see you before, but I hope you enjoyed the session as well. Um, Louis says, "Thank you kindly, Theo. You continue to amaze. I was transfixed. It's thank you very much. I'm really glad to hear this. Thank you, Theo and Mom and Dad, for joining in. Hope to see you next time as well. Running to make sure my Vantage sub is solid and envision to compare notes with Theo. Yeah, I mean, envision, I don't know, Louis, what exactly you're doing. Like, if you do, let's say, more design work, if you're an active architect and you concept buildings, I think that going for envision and escape could be the better choice for you, because if you don't use these, you need to then go, export your model over to Max and then use V-Ray in order to use Vantage, which is kind of a long way when you can shorten this with Escape and Envision. If you are mostly on the creative side, like a digital content creator, creating visualizations for architects, designers, whatnot, I would recommend going with Vantage, because once again, its connection, the live link to V-Ray is already very, very good. The limitations are not that many. And I think with eventually some approaching new version of Corona sometime soon, I think that the Vantage the live link between Vantage and Corona will also be better, which, yeah, I really love it. As I told you, I'm a Corona fanboy and I always love using Corona. But this session, creating it in Vantage, was an absolute joy for me. And once again, I wouldn't have done it the way that I shown you if I didn't have Vantage. In Corona, I would have done interactive rendering, I would have done some final renders, but they would have, even in a small resolution, they would have still, rendered for a long time, because partially we had very, very strong depth of field, very strong blurring. This would have caused a noise. And I wanted to test out stuff. I wanted to be creative. And in this particular case, Vantage was the absolute right tool for me, because it gave me the possibility to just be creative, to change stuff on the go. And, within the limit of a half an hour, I could try out very different lighting scenarios. And this is wonderful. But once again, it was not about Vantage, even though Vantage rocks. It was about the creative journey of a project like this.